Hey guys, I want to give my first impressions on a new anime that dropped this summer 2022 called Uncle from Another World, or also named Isekai Ojisan. And I think this might be the best anime summer 2022 so far. It's only 3 episodes in, so here's my first thoughts on it. So it starts off with a nephew. We learn his name is Takafumi, going to a hospital and visiting his uncle. His name's Yosuke, that just came out of a 17-year coma. Now, when he went into the coma, the uncle was 17 as well, but he was struck by a truck, and that's how it kind of all started. Now, during his time in the coma for these past 17 years, he's actually transported isekai into a different world. From the uncle, we know that it's called Granba Hamal, and when he comes out of the coma, the nurses and the doctors, they think he's gone insane because he's speaking a different language, not making any sense. We learn that when he went over to the other world, that they're actually speaking in a different language, and he has to think to himself, oh, you're speaking in Japanese. I need to switch back over to Japanese because I haven't had to use that in the past 17 years. So that's kind of basically how it starts. The nephew thinks he's gone insane because the uncle, at the moment when he's in the hospital, he's trying to use magic. And we find out his magic actually works. The problem was he was speaking the other language to try to get the magic to work back in where they use Japanese as the main language. And as soon as he transfers over to Japanese and starts trying to use magic, he can use magic in this world. So one of the funny things that we find out is that when he basically writes stuff down in a notebook, he's actually erasing bad memories from his head as he writes it down. And you'll hear this spell called Icarus or Icarus Kiora. I'm probably butchering that. But it's a spell that erases bad memories. So if you ever see him writing in a notebook and actually saying that spell, Icarus Cura, means he's actually erasing a bad memory. One of the bad memories that he's obsessed with Sega, and Sega is pretty much obsolete nowadays. It's been obsolete for over a decade, maybe almost two at this point. But here's a funny scene of him giving his nephew basically the notebook that he writes stuff down in, and basically what happens.
今日の魔法だな。耐え難いことがあると使うんだ。
セガの剣ってそんなに？
異世界は辛いことが多くてな。見るか。
うん。
So they decide to make a living off his uncle, making YouTube videos of all things, of him actually doing magic and doing spells and stuff to get views and start the whole monetization thing. So everybody thinks, the people that are watching the videos, the subscribers and stuff, they think he's actually doing CGI when in fact the uncle's actually doing real magic. So we find out later that if you hear somebody saying they were in the coma, they basically went on an adventure, they can actually do magic now, you think that probably the adventure they had was all, sunshine and rainbows. And this is what Takafumi thinks that his uncle's isekai adventure was like. But basically we find out that the uncle, he played solo for 17 years. Not necessarily, what we find out a little later, but it wasn't a great experience at all because, as you can see, the uncle's not really that attractive. So he was hunted as an orc. Shortly after that, he actually describes a girl that followed him around, and we find out that she probably liked him. It's actually the only person that did through his whole 17 years of basically, living in that other world. We find out later that she gets ditched by him at a town, and I think that's actually revealed a little bit more in detail in episode 2 or 3. I can't remember. But the whole time we're thinking like, oh, your life sucked over here. And this kind of the whole premise of this whole series from what I'm gathering. It's just a different take on the whole isekai thing. But here's kind of a clip on the realization of why there was a girl following him around, and why she was doing that, and it didn't click in his head because he's kind of old school.
初めて会った時も魔物から助けたのに礼もなかった。
最低だね、そいつ。
だろう？確か誰も助けてなんか頼んでないわ、触らないでとか、あんたのために助けたんじゃないわ、勘違いしないでとか、あんたみたいな大怪我と一緒で吐かずにいられ。
Now we have a brief moment, understandingly, of him replying and reading YouTube comments, which is a big part of YouTube now when you have a good engagement and a good following. So we knowingly we see he doesn't understand LOL and different troll words and stuff like that. Which LOL is not a troll word, but if you were born in the past 10 years, like you already know, even little kids. But he doesn't understand it, and he has to learn how to deal with haters on the internet. It kind of comes with the territory nowadays. But after that, he shows a flashback, and I like how they're doing it. They're not flashing back in his head and doing like a whole different scene. It's more like he's showing his nephew through a square magic screen of his life in the other world through his memories. So in a village, he actually finds a way through science that's over here, finds a way to basically get a limited source of water. And instead of them being grateful because of the way he looks and it's against their religion, they actually try to kill him. And you kind of get the premise, another moment of the premise of the series on why this series is so freaking funny.
さっきの人どうなったか見れる？
おう、じゃあピンチアウトで拡大。
あ
の不良者逃げたのね。
So you kind of see he basically runs away from the village, and the girl that's following him around tries to like stop him. And in this moment, you see that actually she likes him. She, even though he's a coward, she's like, sticking up for him through the villagers and stuff. But basically, it leads to my next best scenes that I would say probably got me hooked on this first episode to stick it out for the rest of the series. But he wants a phone, and 17 years ago, instead of it being a touchscreen phone that was cool, it was those rotating flip ones. But he wants to get one of those, and he does an auction. I think is basically their version of eBay. And he wins a flip phone. Now, as you've probably seen on eBay or Amazon, the price of the product might be low, but then they get you on the shipping. You might buy something for $3, but they have $24 shipping. So that's a problem for them. So he displays his epic powers in this scene, and I think is probably one of the best feats of just imagine somebody doing this in real life, just jumping off the balcony.
落ちた！
ちょっと行ってくる。
So he does that to save the shipping cost and gets the phone, which is pretty awesome. All right, and lastly, this is my favorite scene so far, and I think this completely wraps up in a nice package how crazy his life was over there. Now he's not the most attractive, so everybody thinks he's a orc variant, and that's why he's been hunted, all that kind of stuff. But he saves a family from an orc attack. He sliced the orc in half. He's clearly, human, but apparently he's just the ugliest thing in the world over there. And This is what sold me on the whole series. This is the funniest moment. He tries to thank the family, and here's what happens.
ありがとうございます。
We later find out that he thinks that he got sneak attacked by like some gremlins or something, and he got knocked unconscious and thrown down the hill. But we find out in the flashback, in the memory that he's showing his nephew, that the two little kids actually snuck around and hit him beside the head with a rock, and that's how he got knocked out. They did that to save their sister from marrying or getting taken by this orc-like creature. So it's just a whole big misunderstanding. It got me hooked. I'm saying this is gonna be the best show, best anime summer 2022. What are your thoughts? Like it? At least check it out. Give it a chance. Again, it's 3 episodes in, so you can quickly binge that. But let me know what you think. Comment down below. Like, do the things. Hope you have a good one.